Hey all, welcome to Share Trek. This is Raj here, and I'm really glad to bring to you another video on genomic sequencing, and this is going to be about PACB. We spoke about Illumina yesterday and how Carl Icahn is trying to get 3 members on board. I hope he succeeds. And Carl Icahn has again reiterated that Illumina should give up this Grail obsession and get back to core business, and I agree with him 100%. Having said that, I thought let us bring you up to speed on PACB because there have been some new developments which again bring PACB on par or at least slightly closer to where Illumina is. So PACB is working very hard to stay ahead of the game despite its smaller size. So I'm going to talk about the specific development that has happened in the last couple of days. So let's get started. Welcome back, friends. A few days ago, PACB introduced a new informatics tool that they call Paraphrase to provide researchers with a highly accurate method of genotyping gene paralogs and pseudogenes. I'll explain these terms as we go ahead, but this is a new tool that has been introduced by PACB. This computational tool enables variant calling, copy number analysis and phasing. In order to understand the significance of these statements, we need to understand the terms variant calling, copy number analysis and phasing. Let's do that first, and then we'll go on and look at what PACB has accomplished and how Illumina stacks up to it. Variant calling is the process of identifying differences or variations in genetic code between individuals or within an individual's own DNA. So it could be among a bunch of individuals or within the individual's own DNA. And to do this, scientists often compare the genetic sequences of 2 or more individuals or samples, looking for places where the DNA letters A, C, G, or T differ. These differences can be caused by mutations, error in DNA replication, or any other factors. Variant calling is an important tool in genomics research because it allows scientists to identify genetic variation that may be associated with specific diseases or traits and to understand the genetic basis of those conditions. Let me put it this way. If we were able to understand and correlate the variation in genes between individuals and correlate that to a particular condition or a trait, then we have a much more intimate understanding of the DNA. And this is exactly what variant calling does. Copy number analysis is the process of determining the number of copies of a specific DNA segment present in an individual's genome. Each person has 2 copies of most genes. One of them comes from the father and one comes from the mother. But sometimes the DNA segments can be duplicated or deleted, resulting in an abnormal number of copies. Copy number analysis is very important because variations in copy numbers can be associated with a wide range of diseases, including cancers, developmental disorders, and immune systems disorders. For example, some cancers may have extra copies of genes that promote cell growth and division, while some development disorders may be caused by missing or duplicated segments of DNA. To perform copy number analysis, scientists use techniques such as microassay or next-generation sequencing to measure the amount of DNA present in specific regions of the genome. They can then compare the amount of DNA in these regions to a reference genome to determine if the individual has got extra or missing copies of the segment. Phasing in genomics refer to the process of determining which alleles are inherited from which parent for a given individual. Alleles are basically versions of a gene. When an individual inherits 2 copies of a gene, one from each parent, it's not always clear which specific alleles on each of the chromosome come from which parent. Phasing is important because knowing which alleles are present on each chromosome can help scientists to better understand how genes are inherited and how they contribute to specific traits or diseases. It can also aid in the detection of rare genetic mutations, which may be easier to identify if they are only present on one of the 2 copies of a gene. Phasing can be accomplished through a variety of techniques such as genotyping arrays and whole genome sequencing, which use patterns of genetic variations to determine the origin of each allele. Once alleles have been phased, they can be used to study complex genetic traits and diseases and to develop personalized treatments based on individuals' unique genetic makeup. And the more I read the description of these three functions of the tool, I think that this is going to make it even more easier for scientists to understand the makeup of various genetically inherited diseases as well as deficiencies. And when it comes to Illumina, I think Illumina launched a utility called Cyrus, Cyrus, in January 2021 that allows genotyping. But I do not know how PACB Paraphrase stacks up with Cyrus. However, this is what I found in a quest for an answer. I found examples of multiple genes analyzed by Paraphrase and only one by Sirius. It's possible that Sirius has or will analyze more genes in the near future. So I don't think PACB has a major advantage on that count. But Paraphrase has been used on several medically relevant genes with highly similar paralogs and pseudogenes, including CYP21A2 and TNXB, STRC, and SMN1 and 2, which are involved in spinal muscular atrophy. And SMN1 is more than 99.9% similar in sequence to its paralog SMN2, and both genes have variable copy numbers across populations. Mutations in SMN1 cause spinal muscular atrophy, or SMA, a leading cause of early infant death. Read alignment accuracy is reduced in CYP2D6 because the homology with CYP2D7, and this can make variant calling challenging and error prone. Sirius uses a novel approach to overcome this challenge. So this is what I have been able to gather from various texts that were present in the Illumina website. And friends, as you guys know, I'm not a biologist and I'm not a scientist or a biotechnologist or a genealogist, so I don't understand these complex details. But what I do understand is that when trying to phase out the genes, there are some genes which are more likely to be similar to each other, so that differentiation might be very minor. So there needs to be sensitivity in order to be able to differentiate them. And potentially, I think Sirius is lacking in that area. I do not know if Paraphrase has got the same problem, or if Paraphrase is a superior algorithm. But all said and done, the field of genomic sequencing is being progressed in a very rapid manner, and all the more looking at the size of PACB, which is smaller, much smaller than Illumina, and the pace at which it is pushing through innovations. I think that Illumina has got to focus on its core business. Carl Icahn is right. Illumina needs to give up this Grail obsession, focus on its core business, and try to start reducing the cost of cost per human genome mapping, and bring it down from around $600 to somewhere below $100. That should be one of their objectives, apart from making sure that they stay a step ahead of PACB, or else PACB is most likely to have a nibble at their breakfast or lunch or dinner or something of that sort. So friends, that's what I think is happening. And I have found a very interesting thing, which I want to show you on the price chart. So please humor me, and please watch this video for a few more minutes. Hold on while I go to TradingView platform. Well, friends, I have a chart here on TradingView platform. The blue line indicates the performance of Illumina, and the yellow line indicates the performance of PACB. These are relative performances. And you would see that somewhere around 16th of August, we had Illumina falling. And we can see that PACB has not done very well as compared to Illumina, despite all the setbacks that Illumina has been going through. And PACB is a much better company. It's much smaller. It's much nimbler. But also, the smaller companies which are producing sub-$100 human genome mapping kits, they are going to give a lot of competition to PACB, whereas there is a slight moat around Illumina because of their scalable systems and their high-profile clientele. But they need to get their act together and start going in for their core competence and give up this obsession for Grail. I think the moment they make that announcement, we will find that Illumina will start picking up. And you will see in the most recent times, the performance of PACB has picked up as compared to Illumina. So that's the trend that has emerged. So definitely Illumina has suffered. Initially, it did not suffer when it was closer to around 16th of August 2021, the time when they announced the takeover of Grail against the wishes of FTC and all that. But as time progressed, they lost their advantage on PACB, and PACB performed relatively better. And at this point of time, PACB continues to do much better, whereas Illumina has got a lot to be desired. And hopefully they make the decision very soon to let go of Grail, or they win the antitrust or something, and then they start moving upward again. So let's hope for the best. Well, that brings me to an end of this session. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would like to get your thoughts on what you think about PACB versus Illumina, which is a better company. And do you feel that both these companies are going to have a positive outlook in the near term, given that they have been beaten up so much along with the overall market, and especially for Illumina, once they decide to resolve the Grail issue, do you think the shares will bounce back very sharply? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Please put your comments below, and I'll definitely respond to them. And I'll also get to learn something from whatever knowledge you have at your end. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye for now.